Extinction, it's a word we whisper with finality, a curtain call for species swallowed by time. But what if extinction isn't the end? What if some of Earth's lost creatures never truly vanished, just slipped into the places where light cannot reach? For decades, explorers and scientists have returned from the edges of the world with impossible stories. Colossal shadows beneath their boats, footprints in untouched snow, roars echoing through jungles no map has ever named. Their reports were ridiculed, their evidence dismissed. Yet every now and then, the wilderness answers back with a sound too deep, a shape too vast, or a movement too deliberate to explain away. Our planet is ancient, but not all its secrets are buried. Some still move, far below sonar, behind frozen ridges, or beneath roots older than civilization itself. And those who've glimpsed them speak with a trembling conviction that science cannot silence. Tonight, we follow their stories. 10 vanished beings, explorers claim still exist. Some lurk in oceans blacker than night. Others roam forgotten forests, their survival a defiance of extinction itself. Because in nature's darkest corners, disappearance isn't death, it's camouflaged out in the endless black of the Pacific. Where sunlight dies before it touches the floor, something vast still stirs. For centuries, sailors whispered of shadows that trailed their ships' silhouettes longer than whales, too fast to follow, too silent to believe. In 2013, sonar operators from the Australian Oceanic Institute recorded one such anomaly, a moving shape, 70 feet long, swimming at a depth where no known predator survives. The reading lasted 6 minutes before the signal vanished into static. The team logged it as unidentified biological mass. Privately, one scientist wrote a single word beside the data: Megalodon. The same name appeared decades earlier in the 1954 logs of the SS Rangi Explorer, whose hull was struck by an unseen force off the coast of Chile. Divers reported a gouge 15 feet wide, as if carved by something with teeth. Official reports dismissed both cases as equipment failure or whale behavior. Yet deep-sea footage continues to capture fleeting, monstrous outlines. Jaws, too massive. Movements too deliberate. Fossil records place the Megalodon's extinction at 3.6 million years ago. But extinction is a theory, not a certainty, especially in the abyss. Where no human eyes have truly seen. Down there, darkness keeps its own secrets. And sometimes, those secrets surface just long enough to remind us that prehistory might not be over. August 6, 1848. Latitude 2444 S. Longitude 922 E. The HMS Daedalus cut through the South Atlantic, its crew sunburned and silent till the lookout froze, mid-gaze, and whispered, "Something's there." Through a haze of rolling water, officers saw it too, a neck rising 6 feet above the waves, gliding in perfect silence. The creature kept pace with the ship for nearly 2 minutes, an undulating column of muscle and scales, stretching more than 60 feet. Captain McQuay recorded the sighting in the ship's official log that night, ending with the line, "No whale, no known fish, ever moved so." For a century, skeptics dismissed the account as exaggeration or mirage. Then, in 2011, an unmanned NOAA submersible near Ascension Island captured thermal images of a serpentine mass weaving through darkness, long, thin, and cold-blooded. The data vanished before it reached the surface. Modern explanations range from oarfish to misread sonar, yet every few years, new captains repeat the same impossible description. A serpent that rises, watches, and slips away untouched. The sea forgets nothing. It only buries its truth beneath miles of pressure. And if one creature from myth still breathes out there, it may not be alone, because far from the waves, in the deepest jungles, explorers swear they found another survivor, one that never left the age of giants. Deep within the Congo basin, the air feels older, thicker, like the world never fully moved on. The locals call it Mokele-Mbembe, the one who stops the river. Described as a creature with the body of an elephant, a tail like a crocodile, and a neck that brushes the trees. It's said to appear only when the waters rise and the sky turns iron. In 1911, Lt. Paul Gratz reported seeing enormous tracks pressed into riverbank clay, round, deliberate, and fresh. Half a century later, biologist Roy Mackal led an expedition into the Lakwala swamps, recording tremors in the water and distant bellows that seemed to echo from beneath the ground. He left convinced something massive was alive down there. In 2008, explorer Michel Ballot returned with satellite imaging and drone sweeps. One night, his camera caught a ripple cutting across the swamp, long, circular, and vanishing into fog. When they reached the spot, the water boiled with bubbles, but nothing surfaced. Scientists call the stories myth. But tribes who've lived there for generations don't waver. They point to the river and whisper, "It hides during storms." Maybe extinction doesn't touch places where time itself refuses to move. Yet while the jungle still breathes its secrets, the ice has begun to thaw, and with it, The frozen bones of the impossible begin to stir. The Arctic tundra has a way of keeping secrets, the kind that stay buried for 10,000 years, then suddenly breathe again. For most of us, the woolly mammoth is an icon of extinction, trapped in ice and museum glass. But for those who've crossed Siberia's frozen expanse, the past isn't frozen, it's waiting. In 1948, Chukchi hunters near the Kolyma River reported seeing a hairy elephant moving through the fog. Their story reached Moscow, where it was quietly filed under folklore. A decade later, Belgian zoologist Bernard Heuvelmans analyzed aerial footage taken by a Soviet survey plane, a massive brown shape lumbering across white tundra, leaving tracks that ended where the permafrost began. In 2016, the Tixi expedition recorded thermal signatures of a warm-bodied animal moving beneath the ice shelf, too large to be a bear, too slow to be a herd. The data was dismissed as geological interference. But when the footage leaked online, biologists couldn't explain why the pattern resembled a living heartbeat. Every thaw brings bones to the surface, tusks gleaming like ivory lightning. But bones don't leave tracks. Bones don't warm the ice. Perhaps the mammoth never died, just retreated deeper into the snow, beyond the reach of time. And as the cold fades, another ghost reawakens far to the south, not a giant of the ice, but a predator of the forest, silent, striped, and waiting to be seen again. Extinction has a sound, silence. But on cold Tasmanian nights, that silence breaks. Sometimes it's a bark that echoes through the trees, or the flicker of a striped tail vanishing into shadow. Too many, the Thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, died in 1936, but to those who keep searching, it never left. The last confirmed Thylacine, named Benjamin, paced endlessly in his zoo enclosure before dying of neglect. His film footage became the final image of a vanished predator. Yet years later, reports began trickling back from the wilderness, hunters claiming glowing eyes in torchlight, farmers finding cleanly stripped carcasses unlike any dog or cat could leave. In 1973, wildlife ranger Ted Turner filmed a silhouette moving through the mist near Strahan. Its stride matched no known species. Experts called it inconclusive. In 2019, the Tasmanian Parks Department logged 8 new reports, none proven, none disproven. Maybe extinction isn't the end, just the moment when the world stops looking closely. Night vision cameras still line the bush trails, recording nothing but wind and branches. Until something passes just beyond focus, too quick, too cautious, too aware. If the Thylacine still breathes, it's chosen invisibility, mastering the art of being forgotten. But where the forests end, the sea begins, and beneath its miles of crushing dark, something far older stirs, reminding us how small the living truly are. In 1997, a sound rolled through the ocean that no one could explain. It began as a low tremor, then grew, deep and thunderous, echoing across thousands of miles. Recorded by the NOAA hydrophone array off South America. The signal was loud enough to be detected by sensors 5,000 kilometers apart. The analysts gave it a simple name, the Bloop. At first, scientists assumed an iceberg had cracked apart, but the acoustic pattern was wrong. It wasn't sharp, it was organic. Dr. Christopher Fox, the NOAA researcher who analyzed the waveform, wrote that the profile resembled that of a living creature, only one far larger than any whale known to exist. Subsequent recordings from the deep Argo network in 2002 suggested something moving massive, slow, deliberate beneath the ocean's lowest thermal layer. Some experts insisted it was tectonic noise. Others quietly disagreed, pointing out a haunting detail. The sound rose in pitch, the way lungs push air. Then in 2012, the signal returned, this time from a different trench. Same tone, same pattern, same impossible amplitude. No one can say what caused it. No one wants to. In interviews, retired oceanographer Maria Lane recalled, "When I heard it, my skin crawled. It sounded alive but too big, too deep, too alone." The ocean hides 80% of its terrain from human eyes. We've mapped Mars more clearly than our own abyss. Down there, pressure crushes steel, and darkness erases certainty. If something survived a remnant from the age of Leviathans, it would exist precisely where we cannot follow. Some say the bloop was just ice shifting under strain. Others whisper it was a heartbeat. Either way, the ocean answered a question we never meant to ask. What still lives where extinction can't reach? And as the sound fades into the black, the water remains still as if listening for a reply. Extinction is a story we tell ourselves to feel safe, a way to close the book on the unknown. But the world is older than our certainty, and its shadows still move when no one's watching. From the frozen plains to the deepest trenches, explorers continue to find traces, prints, sounds, and scars that refuse to belong to the present. Maybe the creatures we buried never died. Maybe they simply withdrew, learning the silence we mistake for absence. The line between past and present isn't buried in time. It's drawn in darkness. And when the sea groans, when the jungle shivers, when the ice cracks like a heartbeat, we remember. The Earth is vast. And we are guests. Some vanish into history, others wait for it to catch up, because disappearance is not always extinction.